Marty Nemko, and this talk is 4 Keys to a Better Talk on Intelligence. Rich Heyer and Linda Godfreyson asked me to do this, and it's my pleasure to do that. I am a profound believer in the importance of intelligence research, and it's my honor to do it. I'm not well known, obviously, in ISAR, and so I thought, at the risk of hubris, take a moment just to establish my bona fides in the teaching area. It doesn't matter that I have a PhD from Berkeley and I taught there. A lot of people who are lousy teachers who do that. But I was on the national board of POD, which is a professional association, National Professional Association for Faculty Development. I've given hundreds of concurrent and keynote talks that get really strong evaluations. And although I am not a member of Toastmasters, Toastmasters International names one person who's not a member Speaker of the Year, and I was named Speaker of the Year a couple of years ago for the San Francisco Bay Area region. Okay, the first point is this. So many people think the purpose of a talk is to disseminate information. That is wrong. It goes by people too quickly. You're far better off using an article or a book or a monograph or whatever to disseminate information. That is not a good purpose of a talk. Two good purposes for a talk is to get input from the group who is attending, from your attendees, or if you're proselytizing something. Let's say there is a research approach that you really believe in, you can proselytizing it. So if you're trying to get input, you might want to structure it like this. You take, say, for example, let's say you were trying to get input on your research. You write up the research that you're doing in 1 to 2 pages and embed the 3 or 5 questions you have that you'd like their input on. You hand out that to all your attendees. You have them spend the first couple of minutes reading that, and then that leaves the entire rest of the session for your getting input from all of them on your questions. That's so different than spending the entire time on presenting it and then add a few minutes at the end of questions. That's a great use of a talk. Second one is your proselytizing. Let's say, for example, I know that Rich Heyer and Roberto Colom and Rex Young believe in something called the PFIT model, that a lot of G resides, the biological causation of G resides in a certain area. The frontal lobe, they call it PFIT, and they may want more people to get involved in that kind of research. So that's a proselytizing talk. There, you've got to do something that normally doesn't appeal to academics, which is emotion. The way you appeal to emotion is you do talk about the implications for that research for improving humankind. You use a more passionate tone. Something like I'm trying to demonstrate here. I'm trying to be inspiring in some ways, to get you to think about some perhaps alternate ways to present. Also, it's important, your persona, who you are as a person, is important. It's shallow, but we are human. We're not robots. And there have been studies that find that nice people are more likely to get their ideas followed than somebody who's curmudgeonly. Now, I admit that one of my weaknesses is I don't smile enough. And smilers have greater influence. So be aware of your persona that you present as a human being, especially if you're in proselytizing mode. So, first point is that try to have a purpose for your talk that is not dissemination, with two better examples: getting input from the group on something that you're working on, or if you're proselytizing, something that you think is very important for the members. The second key point I want to talk about is something called the tyranny of content. We have a certain amount of time, and you feel like you want to cram in so much, so you just fill every minute with too much content. That leaves people overwhelmed. Think of how many sessions you've attended where they crammed all the content in. How much of it do you remember a day, or let alone a week or a month later? So please, given your goal, if it is getting input, if it is proselytizing, whatever, ask yourself, what is key? What is the most important content that you want people to remember a week from now, not just while you're talking, right? People only have a certain amount of attention span and a certain amount of memory, especially at a conference where there are many sessions. If you have too much content, one of the ways to filter your content down to its essence is, after you've done some preparation, without notes, look away and try to paraphrase what you think is important and say it into a voice recorder, like your smartphone has a voice recorder, or some other kind of digital recorder, or even old-fashioned audio cassette, and then transcribe what you said. You're going to filter out the unimportant stuff when you just talk without notes. That can help you distill down. The second point was that we avoid the tyranny of content. The third point is to focus on clarity. It is so easy to be focusing on your content that you forget that you're trying to really transfer information or ideas to other people. So sometimes what I think about as I'm preparing is, rather than trying to show how smart I am, I try to think about I'm talking to a group of intelligent sixth graders, and can I be that crystal clear? So I focus on clarity above everything. That's really important. How often have we attended a talk and we didn't get it all, and we're kind of embarrassed we didn't get it? We're quietly kind of shrink. Focus on clarity, because your goal is not to show how smart you are, but rather to get information across, or to inspire, or to make your questions really apparent in people's minds. The fourth key to a better talk on intelligence, or a better talk on anything perhaps, is you want interactivity, but I don't think that you need to have the kind of activity we normally think of, where you're breaking up into 4 groups and chat for 20 minutes. That's not necessarily. Sometimes it may be the right thing to do. But here I want to talk about what I call easy interactivity. Easy ways that even within a lecture structure that you can be quite interactive. So periodically through a talk, it's perfectly appropriate to ask a question, but don't call on somebody right away. Wait a long time, because the technical term is a long latency. If you wait 5 to 10 seconds between the moment you finish asking the question and when you call on somebody, and then you're looking around the room, everybody's thinking you're going to call on them. They're thinking they're more actively engaged. Okay? So, another a technique that I really love for easy interactivity is, you ask a question and say, think about this for a few seconds, then turn to the person next to you, kick around your answers with that person, and then you can reconvene the whole group and you ask for volunteers. Who's got a particularly interesting idea? That gets people actively engaged, nearly everybody actively engaged. They're thinking on their own, then they're communicating in pairs, so they're very active, rather than if they're in a group of 8 or 12, they're in pairs. And then, because then by asking the entire group if they have any particular good ideas they want to share, what that does is the very best ideas that emerge in all those pairs get shared with everybody. It's a nice model. It's called Think, Pair, Share. And finally, it's important to try, you can't always do it, but to have as one of the little criteria you're using for how you're going to do your talk, try to have fun with it. Try to make it entertaining. I'm not a joke teller. You notice I'm not telling any jokes. That's not the way I do it. But my informality makes it fun for me. I like that. And again, it's more authentic. Whatever it is that would make it more fun for you. Is it visuals? Do you really like PowerPoints? Do you not? Do you want to make them humorous? Do you want to tell a joke? Do you want to demonstrate something right there? Try to make it fun, because believe me, the audience, especially at a conference when they're going to boring after session after boring after session, boring session after boring session, love some sessions that have a little bit of fun in them. So, to summarize, actually, before I get to the summary, I'm well aware that I don't want to be guilty of the tyranny of content myself. So I'm going to stop here before I'm viewed as a hypocrite. But I want to summarize, which is also not a bad thing to do in your talk. So, number one, try to choose a purpose for your talk other than dissemination. For example, getting input from the group or proselytizing some idea you believe in. 2, avoid the tyranny of content. Really keep it down to the most important content. If you have too much, try turning away from your notes and paraphrasing what you're saying, the most important things, into a voice recorder and transcribing that. That will filter out a lot of the unimportant content. 3, focus on clarity. I like to do it by thinking I'm talking to a bunch of intelligent 6th graders. I'm not trying to use big words, show how smart I am. I'm trying to be conversational and just real. 4, look for easy ways to be interactive. That can be very, very helpful, like asking questions to the group but waiting a long time, 5 to 10 seconds before calling somebody, and techniques like the Think, Pair, Share method. 5, try and have fun with your talk, and thank you very much for watching. I hope this makes, at least you could come away with one thing that maybe you want to do differently as a result of listening to this talk, because the field of intelligence is really important. It deserves more attention than it's getting. And the better a presenter you are, both to your peers, to the media, to your students, the more likely the field is to get the credit and the attention that it so richly deserves. Bye.